I don't know what it was exactly that made me decide to dispel of most of my possessions. I just got up one morning and thought that things would be better if I had bare cabinets and bookshelves, cupboards, drawers, dressers, tables, everything. So I busied myself, purging everything I had. I burned a lot of things, threw some things into the sea. After all, I had no one to give any of these things to, although if I did, I highly doubt they would want anything of mine. Most things were old, damp, torn, moth-eaten, on the whole not very pleasing to any of the senses. Once this material expulsion was complete, I thought it best to keep up appearances of normality. I continued to venture outside to do my usual tiresome activities, such as shop, visit cafes, museums, art galleries, peruse pet shops, fondle strangers' small dogs, pick leaves from trees, skim stones at the beach between the hours of 4 and 7, that sort of thing. I think now that the shopping was the worst part, especially for consumable goods. Since my purge, I've also come to realise that I care not for foodstuffs. I can only bring myself to swallow the delectable brown liquid they call coffee. This sublime fluid became my raison d'etre, my only means of feeling anything but desolate and alone. Instead, every time a drop of it passed my lips, I had an orgasmic sensation, tingling and ecstasy like no other. But I deviate. The museums and the galleries provided a magnificent distraction from the real world. The dreary grey mundanity of diurnal occurrence were banished once I stepped through those doors. My life in my now barren house has allowed my senses to become sharper and more alert. The colours of painting seem brighter, metals seem shinier, fur is softer, textures, colours, sight, sound, all different. One would think that this newness would invoke a desire to rebuild my life, but alas no. The more vibrant experiences occupied my mind for a mere 9 days and 6 hours. After this, I discovered that my mind had become as empty as my house. Why, I had grown accustomed to having honed senses, and the desire to rush, no doubt due to the caffeine, had taken its toll. The novelty of the newness of my surroundings had become tiresome to me. The brightness of the sun, I had been dazzled. The vivid colour of the sky and the grass, I had seen it, and it had grown dull, and I didn't see how it could get any brighter. It was an impossibility. I had reached those echelons already. The softness of fur had grown rough, the spring in my step had become laboured. Yes, all this newness had become my new normality. Seldom have I found myself feeling empty, but now I still had no desire to fill my house with physical objects, and I always saw animals in my daily perambulations, so I saw only one option. I had to obtain a human companion. Of course that was it. The next day, I went to the playground of a local school and saw a suitable candidate in the form of a small female human, so I borrowed it when no one was looking. It was an easy creature to smuggle away once I'd drugged it. When I arrived home, I placed it by my unlit hearth until it awoke. It tried to scream, but fortunately I'd purchased coffee to take away early in the day, and so preoccupied with the thought of a new companion was I'd forgotten it and left it to go cold on my table. I reached for it now and poured it down the creature's throat until its screams had turned to choking. While this thing was making this hideous din, I managed to explain to it that it was only my temporary companion, and that it really should be quiet, otherwise it might not get any more coffee. I tried to distract it with a ball of wool I had found, but to no success. And then I admit it, I panicked. The insanity, why did I ever think a human companion was a good idea? I just sat there crying, repeating home and mum over and over again. I paced for a couple of hours, wringing my hands in despair. What to do? I stared at the creature, crying and red-faced. And then it came to me. I left the creature sitting on my bare floor as I ran outside towards the town centre. I returned some 42 minutes later, clutching a brand new pillow in my hand. The creature had appeared to have worn itself out with its screams and had fallen asleep, thumb in its mouth on the wooden floor. Over I crept, tiptoeing. I knelt beside the creature and lifted the pillow. I took a final look before pressing the pillow against the creature's face. I held it firmly in place for 7.5 minutes to ensure its breathing had completely stopped. The still body had looked so peaceful. Out of the corner of my eye, I spied on my empty cupboards an antique glass cabinet. A creature would look so lovely placed in there. After all, it was my companion, and it was far better now it was dead. No noise, and yet it would still feel like I had company. What could be better? Coffee. I ran from my house again, this time to purchase some rope and a large takeaway coffee. I couldn't get home quickly enough. I placed my coffee on the table, determined not to let it go cold this time, and hurriedly tied the rope around the creature's neck. Once secure, I opened the cabinet and tied the creature to the inside. I stepped back, took my coffee, and admired my handiwork. The creature looked so peaceful hanging there by its frail neck. My companion, my friend, here to stay. I drained the last of my coffee. I could tell from the activities outside my window and the position of the sun in the sky that it was around 5:30. So here I am, at the beach, skimming stones.